Gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, of the things we are going to discuss this year, the graph is new. The graph is no longer a straight line, it is a parabola. It will curve. Vertex, that is a new word. You will learn that as well. The vertex is the spot right there where the parabola curves. You already know x and y intercepts. That's not new. And the last thing we will discuss is the axis of symmetry, which is this line right through the middle. Where one half of the parabola looks exactly like the other half of the parabola. Aight? Now, as always, when we begin something 100% new, we start from what we already know. And what you people already know is how to solve a quadratic equation. Please remember, an equation means what? What does it mean to call something an equation? Preston. You can solve it. X squared plus 3x plus 2 is not an equation. There is no answer to that. All you can do is factor it. Now there's an answer to it. And you all already know the answer to that from our last part of our last unit. You would take that, you would factor it, and you would know that x plus 2 would have to equal 0, or x plus 1 would have to equal 0, meaning x would equal -1 or -2. You already know that, right? So, the first step to solving quadratic equations is to get them set up so you can isolate x. That's your goal. And we will start with the easiest kind to do, because it is the kind you have already done a million times but not called it solving a quadratic equation. Okay? Remember, the zero product property. The zero product property is this: A times B equals 0. What does that mean? That either A has to equal 0 or B has to equal 0, no matter what they are. Okay? You recognize this as x plus 2, x minus 4 equals 0, x plus 2 equals 0, or x minus 4 equals 0. So therefore, that's what those three dots means. Therefore, x equals -2 or 4. Yeah? You all already know this, right? So, if I give you something like this, 2x squared plus 7x equals 0. What would you do? If it was not grade 11, this wouldn't be there. So what would you do with that? You would factor it in whatever way you like to factor. In the interest of time, I will be factoring this the way I like to factor it, which is multiply to 10, add to 7. And it is, of course, x plus 5 over 2 and x plus 2 over 2, which gets me 2x plus 5 and x plus 1, right? Right? Okay. Now, I simplified and slid, yes? But now in grade 11, it equals 0. It equals 0. So I submit to you, I don't really need to do this slide, do I? Because I know the answer here is negative 5 halves or negative 1. Everybody is good to there? You've all done this already. Okay? Nothing new. The only difference is we're not actually going to finish the job because I need to get back to here anyway. So, these three, if it's highlighted in blue, I'll do them. You can just copy it down. This is, of course, I must multiply to 14, add to negative 5. So it is x plus 2, x minus 7 equals 0. X equals negative 2 or 7. Now, you see this written this way with just a comma. I don't like doing that because when you people see that, you think X and Y. Because you think often in terms of steps. And when you see number, comma, number, you're like, oh, that's an XY coordinate. You try to put that on the graph. You cannot. Because what are both of those values? Those are only X values. All right? So X is negative 2 or 7. So what it looks like on a graph is this. There's negative 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7. So the graph looks like this. Goes through them both because those are X values. Right? Because those are when X equals 0. Right? Those values get me an output of 0. So they have to be on the x-axis. Everybody good? So this guy, I got to multiply to negative 15 and add to 2. It's x plus 5 over 3 and x minus 3 over 5. You can see my pen is dying again. So it is x is negative 5/3 or 3/5. And what would it look like on a graph? Negative 5/3, positive 3/5, like that. I'm just factoring. We've just done an entire unit on it. 3/5. 3/3, of course, it was a 3. So that's 1. I can't read my own writing. So, because the pen is dying. So here I need to multiply to 4, add to 4. What is it? X plus 2 over 4. X plus 2 over 4. Which gives me x plus 1/2 squared. So x can only be negative 1/2. Now this is weird. If x is only negative 1/2, what does its graph look like? Where is x is negative 1/2? Right there on the negative side, yes? That's the only spot the line touches it, so the parabola will bounce off. Everybody cool? We'll talk more about the graphs later. I'm just planting the seeds of the graphs in your head. All I care about today and for the next couple of days is the algebra side of things. Preston.
So for C, like the parabola, is it sharp at the end or is it still rounded?
It would be still rounded. But again, don't worry about the graphs. These are just to start planting the seeds of the graph in your head. All right? So all 6 of these are simple factoring, yes? You should be able to do all 6 of those in like a minute. Let's go. I don't know what to do, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, the thing's a piece of garbage. So, I don't know. I'll just keep going and hope that... I mean, you should be able to follow because you know how to do all these anyways. if you can do A, B, C, D, E, and F right now, that is where I need you to be. All right? What I'm about to do is just advance, right? This is scouting ahead to start planting in your heads what this stuff means. The graph for A, both are negative, so it would be over here on the negative side, right? The graph for B, one's positive and one's negative. So it'll be a fairly wide one because I'm down at -8 and +7. The graph for E, and I'll keep the color, 6 and 5. They're both positive and it'll be really narrow because 6 and 5 are close together. The graph for D, positive and -5, exactly the same size, right? -8 and 6, it's going to be another wide one. And lastly, B equals -3, it's going to bounce off on the negative side. Remember, this is advanced stuff. It's for later. I just want you to start seeing it, to start making the association between the solutions to these and the fact that they're the x-intercepts. Okay? Now, your job today, because the bell is going to ring soon, your job is to finish page 70. No, you're going to work on 76. I'm going to show you these two on 77, and then you're going to finish 77. What is different about A? It doesn't equal 0, does it? What do we do? The same thing as we've been doing since the beginning of the 10th grade. Make it equal 0. What has to move? Why would you not move the 8? Huh? It's sloppy. We don't want a negative. Nice job, Sil. 8x squared. What's happening here? Coming over. What does it become? -10x. What's happening here? +2 to get -3 equals 0. Now what would we do? We'd factor, right? I'm trying to save time, trying to get you guys to be able to get to it. What do I got to do here? What's wrong with B? I got to distribute because I got to make it equal 0, right? If it's going to work, it's got to equal 0. So x squared plus 10x equals 4x minus 8. Now what do I do? X squared plus 6x plus 8, yes? And then what would I do? Factor. So your job is to attempt 76 and 77. Please notice there's some crazy stuff on 77. Are you allowed to bring all of your algebraic tools to this party? Yes. If you see something you don't like, are you allowed to beat it up with algebra? Yes. All right? You don't like that x divided by x? What do? Multiply by x and show it who's boss. You don't like that divided by 2x? What do? Multiply it by 2x and show it who's boss. Page 76 to 7. Oh, you're such a piece of garbage.